everybody. Welcome to another Transport Evolve live stream. I hope that you are well and you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope that you are enjoying a day off. I know that not everybody watching today is taking a day off. Mr. Ghost here, who has heard me talk and has decided that he wants me to play with him, is most certainly enjoying a day off. As you can see, Michael is not behind me. That is because the rest of the team are taking a day off today. So the purpose of today is just to have, it's kind of a no effort for me, because we would normally be working really hard on a Friday on 10. And that's something actually I'm going to talk to you guys about a little bit later on in the show. But I want to start, we've got a whole load of things to talk about today. So we are going to be talking about the first thing, our Patreon page. We need more patrons, and I'm going to come to that later on in the live stream. We're also going to be talking about Mastodon and how you can go about joining Mastodon, because we have left the Bird platform. I've personally left it. I know that Kate Walton Elliott has left the platform also. We are working to make the platform, to make Transport Evolve's official kind of outlet on Mastodon. And then also, there's a few other things that I want to talk to you about today as well, just to give you a bit of an update into what's going on. My N-phase solar system is now finished. Inspection should be Monday. Well done, True Rex, just in time for the snowstorm that's heading our way. Hopefully we won't get too bad a snowstorm. And hello from Dennis Pascal. Hello. A live show during a sporting event feels like the early years of TE to me. Indeed. I hope that you are having fun. But the US and the UK are about to play soccer. Yeah, football. Ow. Do you mind, please, sir? I didn't plan this when we set the time. We set the time a long time ago when we were setting our plannings. So I do apologize. Maybe you can have me in one corner and the football in another. There are mixed views about the World Cup in Qatar, aren't there? And I think that's something that is difficult to. It's one of those things that is very difficult for everybody to agree on. Personally, I don't think the World Cup should be in Qatar. There are too many political and there are too many political reasons why that shouldn't be happening. That's my personal opinion, not those of the company. But yes, I know it's a very, very divisive thing, and we live in a world of division right now, don't we? Which brings me, I guess, to the whole thing about Mastodon. But first, if you are a Patreon supporter, thank you. You are the folks solely responsible for keeping us going right now, because YouTube has done some pretty terrible things in the last month or so, and there are lots of people who are complaining that they are no longer getting notifications from us about new content. I'm going to play with a dog toy in the background. So if you see me with my hand down here, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just keeping a dog entertained. There are some issues with YouTube at the moment. The issues that we are suffering is that YouTube is starting to monetize YouTube Shorts in February. And as a consequence, YouTube is basically promoting the crap out of Shorts. So much so that we've seen our Shorts channel, I've seen our Shorts channel get recommended to me on my personal account multiple times. But I've not seen any of the Transport Evolved videos recommended to me personally on my personal account now for about 3 months. And the problem with that is that I know I'm not the only one. I know there are other people who are also having that same issue. They are logging into YouTube and they are trying to figure out, why is Transport Evolved no longer creating content? And that the knock-on effect. I'll talk about this more later. We'll talk about this all a little bit later. But we are not making enough money on YouTube anymore. And so if you are a Patreon supporter, thank you. If you are not a Patreon supporter and you are financially able to, please consider supporting us, because as I will come to later on in the show, we are really hurting right now. Really, really hurting. Shorts, lots of you are saying do not like shorts. Shorts are absolutely terrible. Not yours, all shorts. Shorts are awful except for the clothing kind. I hear you, but I don't run YouTube, and so we are stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea here. And frankly, without me getting emotional about it, it threatens the channel. It threatens our future. I'm just going to say it. We are hurting right now. Thank you very much, Anonymous Freak, for your kind donation, both a Patreon supporter and now a super sticker buyer. Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you. All right, so Mastodon. For those who don't know, we have made a corporate decision to move away from Twitter. That's for two reasons. One is obviously the nonsense that's going on at Twitter right now, the treatment of Twitter staff by the now owner of the company, Elon Musk, the way in which there was a marked rise in hate language as a direct consequence of some of the safety team being fired and other things. And YouTube is not Twitter is not a pleasant place for us to be as content creators who are in the LGBTQ community. We don't want to be on a platform where there's definitely some shaping of the content in a way that while the original idea that Elon Musk had of free speech was quite noble, that we are seeing that it's becoming a bit of a cesspool for disinformation. Elon Musk obviously has made some posts lately that have assisted in the spread of disinformation, or at least whipped up dissent and facilitated misinformation spreading. So we as a company have decided that we are shifting from Twitter to Mastodon. I'm on Odyssey. Have you heard of it? I have not. I would love to talk to you about it, because I think that's something that's the next thing that we're going to be discussing, is kind of shifting things over. Dennis says, you kept handle dormant though for Twitter, right? So folks can't go and impersonate us. Yes, we are going to keep our handle. It is locked right now. We may start occasionally doing hey, we're over at Mastodon, come follow us. But right now, things seem to be doing pretty well. So we have Mastodon. Now, what is Mastodon? Mastodon is a federated social media platform. Here's the webpage for it, that focuses on having many different servers, and the servers can be focused on different interest groups, different countries, different political viewpoints, or it can be a server that is aimed to be friendly towards a particular group of people. The idea of a federated system with lots of different Mastodon servers is that not one person owns the network. Mastodon is not owned by one person. It is a social, it's a socially owned group. So there are loads of different server owners and operators, and you pick a server that represents either your goals or desires, or supports a particular group that you find is a group that you would like to support as well. I am not explaining it very well, but the whole purpose behind Mastodon is that it's it's a distributed platform. So there can't be a situation like we now find at Twitter where it's one person calling the shots. It makes it easier also for moderation to happen because there are lots of individual servers moderating. If there is a particular server that's particularly egregious and whose members are not particularly nice people, you can either choose to block everything that comes from that server, or you can choose to block individual accounts from that server so you don't see them. But the other thing that I really like is that on Mastodon, there is a concept of tags, content warning, and also accessibility. And I'd like to talk through some of those things now. So the first thing is, oh, by the way, Mastodon is open source. So you can literally go and download the code and install it on your own server, which is exactly what we did. Content warnings. There's a tag called CW. CW stands for content warnings. If you want to talk about a particular topic, you can use the content warning flag to enter in a brief description of the thing that you want to talk about. So, for example, if it's political or there is a particularly nasty event that happens in the news, as last week happened, terrible attack on a gay bar in Colorado. You can actually comment on that event, but you can put a content warning tag so that it's not just shared with everybody immediately, so that people browsing the timeline aren't just hit with content that might be difficult for them to either handle, or it might be inappropriate for where they happen to be consuming stuff at that particular time. And it makes the person reading the timeline, the person interacting, then is empowered to choose if they want to read that toot or not. We are not going to bark at people, because if we bark at people, we're going to go and play with Mum downstairs. Border Collie had two new dog friends over for Thanksgiving yesterday. So he played a lot and was very tired last night. He's just woken up after snoozing for most of the morning, and now he wants to play with everybody. So the other thing about Mastodon, so you've got your content warnings. Everything is spread via hashtags. So when you are composing a toot, as they call them, you use hashtags in front of keywords, and that is how other people find you on the Fediverse, how they find your toot. They do it through hashtags rather than through just how Twitter did it. Thank you. That was very kind of you. Go get. So that makes it easier to search. It also makes it easier to whittle out content that you may not want to talk about, you may not want to see. And then the third thing is, when you post images, you have the option, and I thoroughly encourage you to do this, to provide an alternative text description of what the photo or the image that you are posting is about. You can either write it in text. You can just say, this is a picture of XYZ, or if there are text, if there is text in your image, you can use that text as part of your image tag. But the idea behind alternative image tags is that if there is somebody who uses a screen reader for whatever reason, is using that social media platform, and they come across your toot, they too can be included in the discussion. It's ensuring that people who are either visually impaired or are using screen readers for other reasons can access the content, and that's really super important. It makes it far more accessible for everybody. So those are three of the big things that we personally all like about Mastodon. But then if you add to that the fact that it is open source and you can install your own server, kind of adds to that. Now, Mastodon has when it was set up, and when the Fediverse, which is more than just Mastodon, it's about social media blogging, it's about microblogging, it's about video peer-to-peer sharing, which we'll talk about in a minute. All of these things come together. But when it comes to Mastodon, the idea behind Mastodon was that companies do not have accounts on servers. The idea is that Mastodon is supposed, if you join a server, you are joining the server as an individual rather than a company. Now, there are some Mastodon servers that have been set up for corporations to use. And one of the ideas behind Mastodon is if you are a company or you are a news outlet or something like that, the idea is, the concept is that you are supposed to set up your own server. And this does one of two things. One, it reduces the strains on other people's servers. And two, it allows you to provide a verified official server or official feed to your audience so that your audience knows that it's coming from you, not someone else. And so what we have done here at Transport Evolved, and I can show you this, I think, let's find out, is that we have created our own server. This is my personal timeline, okay, on Mastodon. This is my official Transport Evolved Mastodon server. You can see here at the bottom, let me get rid of this for a second. You can see down here, there is the official TE logo, and the address for that is it's Mastodon transportevolved.com. Okay. If you go to that is just our server. You can't have an account there, I'm afraid. The only people who get to have an account at Transport Evolved, at mastodon.transportevolved.com, is myself, Kate, Walton Elliott, my partner Kate, Michael, Erin, and Show. So if we go to Show at mastodon.transportevolved, you will see this account here. This is the official Transport Evolved official channel. Okay, so if you want to follow Transport Evolved on Mastodon, that is the official Mastodon account to follow. It's show at mastodon.transportevolved.com. Okay, then if you want to follow myself, I am at a minor journey at mastodon.transportevolved.com. That is my official one. No TE alumni, Nufkin. You know what? I will ask him if he would like one, but it's generally only TE. The purpose of having this server is not for us to have personal things on here, but rather for us to have our official Transport Evolved. So we will be posting things like behind the scenes stuff, talking about cars, talking about videos, talking about projects we're working on. Eventually, Michael doesn't have one yet, and Erin doesn't have one yet, but they will have one. We've had a chat with them about it. So pure at Mastodon. I can't spell today. So this is Kate Walton Elliott's official Mastodon, and you can see her personal one as well. So Kate has a personal one. It's pure at mastodon.lol. I am at a minor journey.mastodon.lol. That is for my personal account. And we are trying to separate us as the presenters and news people and journalists against us, the individual. You are more than welcome to follow me at a minor journey at mastodon.lol. I know that you are all welcome to follow Kate at mastodon.transportevolved.com, or I will write mine in mastodon.lol. You can follow my personal account there, If you actually go to that website, you will see that I've actually got a link back to my Transport Evolved account and the show account. But we're trying to keep it separate. And I think that's partly going to help us make sure that we stay professional, but it's also going to make sure that everything is as clean and as simple as possible. By the way, thank you, Jesper. That is very kind of you. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Marcus says, TE was the first account recommended to me when I signed up for Mastodon. Kind of scary. And Marcus, while Marcus is being focused on here, Marcus asked me something the other day in the comments, and now is a good place as any to recommend it. Marcus and several other people have said, why do you guys make a big deal about the and Ian at the end of the list? It's kind of two reasons, okay? So for those who don't know, and again, somebody asked me this just this morning, the scrolling list of patrons that you see on the end of our videos when we're not doing a live stream, that scrolling list is a list of Patreon supporters who support us at the $15 to $49 a month level. There are people who support us for less, and we love each and every one of you guys. But we currently have 1,372 Patreon supporters. If we listed every single one, the end of our videos would be stupidly long. Like, they would be like 3 or 4 times the length they currently are. So if you are somebody who supports us at less than $15 a month, I'm afraid your name doesn't come up. But that doesn't mean we don't appreciate you, because we really do. We just had to come up with some kind of arbitrary way of making it easier for our Patreon supporters to be listed without everybody being listed. Currently, I think there's a couple of hundred names on that list as it is. So it's already pretty long. Now to the and Ian thing. So Ian is one of our top tier supporters. There are some wonderful people who support us at all levels. Our top tier, our Starman level supporters are the ones who support us at $100 or more a month. Ian is one of those. And when Ian joined up, I had this conversation with Ian, and I was like, everybody else has got 2 names, right? Or they are using an alias. So Anonymous Freak is a good example. I know Anonymous Freak is in the chat room watching right now. Anonymous Freak, I know their real name. I know them locally. I consider them a friend, honestly. I know them locally, and ow, please stop digging your claws in. And it's normally an alias or a name. First, last name. When it comes to Ian, I asked Ian, do you want your last name on? And Ian just said, no, it's just Ian. And so we ended up, Anonymous Freak waves. Hi, Anonymous Freak. So we had this conversation with Ian and said, hey, what do you want to be known as? And Ian just said, I just want Ian. You can say and Ian if you want. And so and Ian became a joke at the end of the video. Kate ran with it and made it, forgetting the fact that this last person and Ian. And now it's become a bit of a folklore for the channel. So that is why we have and Ian at the end of the show. Ian's a lovely supporter. I think I have actually met Ian in real life once or twice, I think. Our paths have crossed. I won't say where our paths have crossed, but our paths have crossed a couple of times. So that is where the and Ian comes from. A bit of long-winded handles. How to find a server. Can you switch servers if you start on a bad one? Yes, you can. What great question, Pete. So, yes, it is very long handles. Ow, stop it. Yeah, that's what happens if you pull down a multi-tool on top of you while I am on air. Excuse me. Border Collie fun. And those who get upset, He is 1 year old. He's got a lot of energy. We wouldn't normally do that. Yes. Ian's real name is Bond, James Bond. There we go. So how do we find a server? Can you switch servers if you start with a bad one? Yes, you can. So Mastodon, you can go to a Mastodon server, and there is a facility in Mastodon. It's coded into the software that allows you to transfer from one server to another. If you want to find a server, though, let's see if I can remember the website. If you go to join.mastodon, ow, that hurts. If you go to join, scratches. If you go to join.mastodon, joinmastodon.org without the dot. This is the Mastodon site, and then it has a link somewhere that allows you to find servers. So here we go. These are a lot of servers that you can join around the world. Your previous toots do not move when you change servers, but what does happen is that there is basically like a parking page put on your old server that goes, hey, this account has moved over here, go follow them over here. So if someone comes in who didn't know that you'd moved, they would still see the direct to the new place. I think your existing followers get transferred over auto-magically. But yeah, it's fairly easy to move. So you can see here that you get to choose what type of server you want. So you can pick a region. Let me actually get rid of me here for a second. Just realized if I do that, I remove the audio. So let's see. Can I do that? You should be able to still hear me. I hope you can. So you will see here that there are different regions, right? So there's Europe, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and you can do it based on interests. So you can see there's a couple here for journalism. You can see technology, and there are more servers here than are actually listed. So if you go to LGBTQ, that's one. Music, you see different clubs and different groups. Okay, now I am on mastodon.lol, which is my personal server, not my personal server. Mastodon.lol is the one that I use for my personal account, and it's run by a guy called Nathan, who's lovely. It's supportive of the LGBTQ community. It doesn't allow it's anti-fascist, so it doesn't allow fascist content on the server. It will block it if it thinks that you are engaging in such things. You will be moderated out of existence. So that is how to do it. Time to render the Patreon list as a giant wall of text in 9:14 font size at 4K. Yeah. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the year. That would be an interesting way of doing it. Ghost is gone. He's got bored and disappeared. Anyway, if you add someone in Mastodon, you can see their previous toots. Yeah. So if they move over, it's very clever how it's done. Anyway, to answer the question about why our Mastodon page, why we have such long names. The reason we have such long names is because if you look here at the top, you see how it's mastodon.transportevolve.com. So we own the server. I'm one of your sub £15 skin flints. Oh, thank you, Pete. You're awesome. You are awesome. You are all awesome. So if you go to Federation, yes. If you go to our our Mastodon server, it's actually served on the transportevolved.com domain. So it's at transportevolved.com, but then it's Mastodon, which is the subdomain, .transportevolved.com. Now, we could have had it we could have just said, a minor journey at transportevolved.com or pure at transportevolved.com. And I know a lot of people will ask, why is it not Nikki and why is it not Kate at? The reason we decided to use our kind of long-standing handles was so that it made it easier for people to find who we are. And if you look, we do actually just say on our profile, I say Nikki Gordon Bloomfield at the top of mine. Kate says Kate Walden Elliott, and the Transport Evolved the show says what it is. And yes, thank you for doing what you can, Pete. I just want to reiterate here the amazing people who support the channel at any level are amazing people. And if everybody watching right now donated just $1 a month, if they aren't already donating, it would really help Transport Evolve grow. And we are heading into a very unsure part of Transport Evolved's future. And I guess, was there anything else I wanted to talk to you about right now? Well, there are some other things, but I guess now is a good time as any to talk about some of the things that are happening on the channel. We are supported by an amazing group of Patreon supporters. We also have an amazing group of people who support us on YouTube. Thank you to whoever it was who signed up while we were on air or increased their patronage. Thank you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Let's talk about what's been going on with YouTube. And I feel like I don't want people to feel that we're begging. But at the same point, we need your help more than ever. YouTube is moving away from long-form videos. Something's wrong with the algorithm. Some of you are getting notifications, but an equally large number of people are not getting notifications. And what that means is that our videos are not getting viewed as much as they ordinarily would. So, for example, our mini review that we did only got is under 10,000 views, which is ridiculous. Normally we get more than that. Our Thanksgiving buying guide, which is the video we just produced and we pushed out on Wednesday, 2,000 views. People are not seeing our video, and the knock-on effect of that is that people have been leaving Patreon. We're also dealing with an uncertain economic future, and there's been lots of amazing Patreon supporters who have been supporting us for years who have found themselves in difficult financial situations. And we all do that from time to time. We all find ourselves in a bad place, and we have to make tough decisions, and we are grateful for all of the support that they've been able to give us thus far, and we're glad that they have been able to make decisions to ensure that they don't end up in a really nasty financial position. And if anybody supports the channel, or that was supporting the channel, put themselves in a bad position in order to support us, I would feel terrible. But the knock-on effect of this is that we've gone from having at one point earlier this year, we'd reached a point where we could make payroll on Patreon support alone. And payroll every month is about, I don't want to give you an exact figure, but it's about $9,000. And that's not including me, because I don't pay myself a lot of the time. But we have to make sure everyone has a living wage. We have to make sure everyone has healthcare. We have to make sure that everybody obviously has the option to have a retirement account if they want one. And next year we're going to be paying. Oregon is bringing in a mandated sick pay system, and although we have unlimited holiday here at the channel, and everybody's really responsible about using it when they need to, we do not. We no longer are able to make payroll from just our Patreon support. We have had. I'll do a bit of math here. We've had a 20% drop in patron income. And that combined with our YouTube drop in revenue, which again is closer to 30% drop over the last month and a half, 2 months, has meant that money's getting pretty tight. And I know a lot of people have said, oh, yeah, but you just bought a big truck and you must be rolling in it because you've got the F-150 Lightning and you're spending all this money on it. And I suppose I want to address that in a very simple way. And that is that the truck is being paid for by the combined income of myself and my partner and some smart financial decisions we've made in the past. And that's great. But at the same point, the business, I put in a lot of money into the business as it is, and we need to support it. It needs to be self-sustaining because it can't continue if this trend continues. Does that make sense? So if we continue to lose support for whatever reason, whether it's through we're not getting eyeballs on YouTube because YouTube's changed its algorithm, or we're not getting the Patreon support because everybody's finding their wallets are being pinched, it could impact us. Now, we've made it through one recession. I would like to make it through another one. But it really does depend on everybody supporting us through Patreon, Ko-fi, heck, even Bitcoin if they want to. Buying swag from the swag store, supporting us that way. And it's one of the reasons why Transport Evolved is launching a new consultancy service. And it's because we want to have a different revenue stream. Okay, so Transport Evolved used to have we have this remit, right? Cleaner, greener, safer, and smarter, and we promote cleaner, greener, safer, and smarter transportation. And we do it in a way that doesn't pick winners or losers. We do it in a way that makes sure that everybody has as equitable and as fair an access to the information as they possibly can. We don't put anything behind paywalls on YouTube or on our website. And that's how we would like to continue to do it. Now, if we can loop back to Mastodon for a second, we want to start putting our videos on PeerTube. Now, if you don't know about PeerTube, PeerTube is effectively an alternative to YouTube. You can put your content up on PeerTube, and it allows people to watch your content without ads. And when somebody watches your video, it downloads part of that video to your machine so that when somebody else goes to watch it, you are helping with the bandwidth. You are helping provide a little bit of the bandwidth required to bring that video to someone else. Okay. So it's kind of a peer-to-peer system, but obviously it's legal because you're sharing content that has already been produced and shared by a creator. And we want to go on to that because we would very much like to have distributed platform where our content is distributed and shared, because that feels like a long-term success for what we want to do, which is we want to make video safer and smarter for everybody. Does it use torrent-based tech, says Dennis? I believe it uses a similar technology. I don't know if it actually uses the torrent protocols, but it does share. So what happens was when you download when you watch a video, it will cache a little bit of that video on your machine and keep it there. So the next time somebody else wants to watch that video, if your machine is online and available, it will go, hey, has anybody got XYZ of that video? And your machine will send the little bit that it does. It's not a huge amount. And the idea is that the more people that watch it, the easier that video is to be shared. And we have enough viewers sharing that video. We have enough viewers on our average videos for that to not be an issue, you know? But that relies on something else, okay? So YouTube used to be more than 1/2 of our revenue. Now it's down to about 20%. It's about 20% of our revenue comes from YouTube. And a lot of our revenue previously was coming from Patreon. As I said, we've lost about 20% of our Patreon support, and that keeps me up at night, especially when there's 3 pay periods in a month. But we think that PeerTube is a way forward for us to kind of get out from underneath YouTube. I'm very unimpressed with how YouTube has treated content creators lately. It's focusing so hard on shorts, and it's something that you guys have said you don't like shorts. We don't like shorts, and we've had some internal discussions about how we move forwards as a company. And one of the ideas is that we just make our trailers shorts. So we do shorts every day. We make a short every day, but we still make the main content, the content that we promote. And so we've done it once or twice, and it seemed to work, where we made a short trailer and pushed that as our short, and it allowed us to get some eyeballs that we wouldn't normally get. Because I don't know if you know, if you look at the YouTube app, bring it up on my phone here. If you look at the YouTube app, you'll see that shorts get priority. You get one video up top, so it's recommending that I watch Doug DeMuro, right? But then shorts are below. You then get another video recommendation. So you get one video recommendation, then you get a bunch of short recommendations. Then you get a second video recommendation, more shorts, a third video recommendation, and more shorts. And so it makes things very difficult. John says, can we make each of the 10 shorts into shorts? Yes, we could, but that would take a lot of time. So in terms of the content that we create, the shorts, I don't know if folks know this or not, but 10 could be cut up into 7 shorts. I mean, look, it's a possibility, right? But it would dramatically change our workflow, and it would dramatically change how we make those videos, and it would dramatically change how we produce the show, right? Because a lot of people refuse to watch shorts, and therefore they are not going to watch the shorts. We don't want to lose our existing audience to placate the algorithm. So tell me, if that is something you want us to do, we will look into it. But for me to turn each of those videos into a short, we tried that a couple of years ago, and it was a disaster. It really was. For a while, we were doing 15 videos a week. Basically, we were doing 8 shorts, and the rest were just regular videos. And it was a nightmare to produce, and I was very stressed. It's actually one of the reasons why I put on so much weight, is because I was just so stressed all the time. I didn't have time to do anything other than work. And it made me really depressed and really unhappy. And I want to make sure that I personally don't get to that as well. Can you chain one short into another, like a tweet thread of videos? It's kind of difficult to do. It's possible if you're clever. So we'll see. Some news in 10 is available early in the month. Do you mean the week? So maybe making them shorts and retelling them at 10 at the end of the week. That's a possibility. But again, the setup for 10 is different to the setup for the Daily Show. We have a different camera position. We have a different setup. It takes Michael about 15 minutes to reset the studio for 10. And he's not here every day of the week. And that's the other thing, right? YouTube wants me and the rest of the team to make a video every day. I don't want to do that. I cannot do that. Mentally, physically, I cannot do that. Everybody needs time off. I know. So, and other people are doing long video clips and using them as shorts, and it's something we are looking into. And John said, he said month meant week. Yeah, I knew that's what you meant, John. So that's where we are right now. We need to make more money. Basically, YouTube is penalizing us because we're not making shorts as many as we need. So if you are in, can you pass on a woof bark to Ghost? Yes, I can. We need to bring in more income to keep the wolf from the door. And some people have been saying, well, why don't you do sponsored videos? Okay, so here's the deal with sponsored videos. So we have a couple of bikes on review right now, one of which we were supposed to have unpacked and assembled and done a short ride review on already. There was something wrong with it from the factory, and when we opened up the box, I almost immediately said to Michael, that doesn't look right. I'm worried about this thing not being right. And we reached out to said company, and they've given us a form to fill out, which we'll fill out when we get back into the office next week, showing what the problem is, and then hopefully we'll go from there. Whenever you work with a company on a review, it's getting worse, by the way, as well. There's normally strings attached, right? And we have to go backwards and forwards multiple times to these companies going, no, you don't get final review of our video. You see it when our audience see it. No, we are not going to make mistakes when it comes to discussing how this video is put together or how this video is done. I think long term, we're going to have to stop doing certain types of reviews because these companies are getting more and more pushy. They're like, they want us to review their content. And whenever you see someone doing a video in which they say, oh, there's a discount if you go to this website and buy it, it normally means, not always, it normally means they're being paid. So the bike review that we just filmed, sort of half filmed, we do say in that it's on sale right now. We are not being paid to say that, which is true. We were not being paid to say that. But most contracts that are sent out for influencers, which is what a lot of these ad agencies view us as, expect us to basically make an advert for a product and talk about it in a very specific way. And if we don't, they get upset and they get angry. As you know, we won't do that. We will say, no, we're going to tell people what we really think of your product. And that means we're not great for a lot of advertisers. We worked with an advertiser a couple of months back, a big advertiser. They were complicated to work with. They were a nightmare to work with, actually. So much so that a couple of weeks ago, somebody else from the company reached out to us and said, hey, would you like to work with us? And I'm like, we already have someone at the company who's been working with us, who's gone quiet. What's going on? And they were like, oh yeah, she left. And I found out the other day that we made $7 from that integration. We made $7 from that integration. So why go through the rigmarole of having to deal with someone who wants a script, who wants a revision, who wants us to say something in a particular way? And this is just for a sponsored thing. Another advertiser we've been working with hasn't paid us yet. So that is difficult. Would 2 or 3 important news shorts a week help at all? Pete says. Yes, absolutely. That is the thing that we are looking again, it's something that we're looking at for next week. We're going to start discussing it. I'm still hoping that you can get a referral from current Nebula content provider. I still think T's content would play well on Nebula. I know a couple of content providers on couple of content makers on Nebula, and they know that I would like to join Nebula, but nothing has happened. So I don't know if they're not referring us or if they've referred us and Nebula has said no. Honestly, I'm kind of done with the whole thing. Like, there are days now. I think I've said this on a live stream before. There are days when I get up and I go, why am I doing this? Because there are bigger channels now doing EV content, and I think they're taking a lot of the eyeballs, and they can spend money advertising, and we don't have that money to spend on advertising. So it's tough, right? We'll see. Maybe I will get a referral to Nebula. I'm not holding out on it until it happens. I'm not holding out on it. I just feel like maybe we're not making good videos anymore. Anyway, I didn't want the discussion to get to this point. So let's talk about something happier. We are now offering a consultancy service, which is awesome. And the idea is this. Transport Evolved collectively has pushing 30 years. And that's a lot of knowledge of the EV world and cleaner, greener, safer, and smarter transportation. And so we have started a consultancy service. There are a couple of questions in the chat room I'll come to in a minute. We have started a consultancy service. The idea behind the consultancy service is very simple. There are two sides. There's a business consultancy, and then there is an individual consultancy. So this is our business consultancy service. And there's a couple of things we do now. We've done a couple, and this is a big thing we were talking about a couple of months ago. We've done a couple of presentations now. And how we're going to do it is we give talks to organizations. I don't know if we can say who we visited. So I'm not going to say who the clients are that we've worked with already. But a couple of Wednesdays ago, Kate Walton Elliott came down to Portland, and we went to a local Portland business that is globally known, and we gave a lunchtime talk on buying and getting behind the wheel of an electric vehicle. We are doing one on Wednesday next week with another large, well-known organization, this time in California, where we are doing a discussion about how members of staff can transition their personal vehicles to cleaner, greener, safer, and smarter vehicles. We also are happy to talk about electric bicycles, about travel share schemes, carpools, anything that gets people out of internal combustion engine, privately owned vehicles and into better, cleaner, more appropriate forms of transport. That doesn't have to be an electric vehicle. It might be an electric bicycle. It might be a train or a ride share scheme, or other types of micromobility like an e-scooter. Get the one in Beaverton to be a client. They have deep pockets. Yeah, I would love it if someone who has a connection with any big multinationals or any big companies that have a budget, please let us know. Yes, Fourth Mobility does this. Sorry about that. That was a border collie who is decided that he just wants to bark. Yes, there are other people that do this. But just because other people do it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. Because at the end of the day, I got to keep this channel running, right? I got to find ways of making making ends meet. And if YouTube's not doing it for us anymore, there are other ways of us doing it. So there's more than enough work to go around, and we're not intending to muscle in on other people's businesses. But we are offering something in a very different level. So medium to large businesses, even small businesses, if you have a fleet and you want to make a cleaner fleet, we can help you. And we're not just working in Oregon. We're working with other, like one of our clients is in California. And the idea is that we want to provide consultancy services either to individuals in the company, like a lunch and learn thing, or longer term, helping companies transition their fleets. The idea is that we may not know everything, but we know someone who does. So we can be the liaison, we can be the intermediary, we can be the folks to help explain and make that transition easier. And for individuals, we also do the same thing. And we've just launched a service for individuals. It's a 3-stage consultancy process. And the same thing is true. We have set it up. Something weird went on there. We are doing something similar here, where we have this transition where people can come to us and say, hey, I have these needs. I do this much driving. I need to go here, here, and here. This is what I have at home. And we can help them find a solution that works for them. Even if they live in a rented property, even if they live in a small place. The thing I love about TE most is independence. Thank you. It's one of the few EV channels where I know there isn't a hidden agenda. Thank you. And yeah, Patreon isn't helping. I think you've just joined because I think you probably missed the whole bit where I went, our Patreon support has dropped by 20%. And we have a big bill to pay every month. Like, it drives me up the wall when people do this, because people go, there seems to be, and I'm not ragging on anyone in particular, but it's kind of going to take me off on a bit of a tangent. Lots of people assume that Transport Evolved is something we do in our spare time. It's not. It is a full-time job. It's more than a full-time job for me, and I pay myself less than $1,000 a month. Normally I pay myself much, much less. Sometimes it's only a couple of $100 a month. But other people, and that because I'm the business owner, right? It's my baby. It's my project. So I'm the one who takes the lowest salary of everybody on staff. I pay myself the lowest. But everybody else needs to be paid. Everybody else needs health insurance. Everybody else needs a good salary, living wage. And that means we have to bring in a substantial amount of money. There are 2 full-time members of staff in addition to myself and 1 part-time member of staff. And if you consider what the going rate is in this region, that adds up pretty quickly. It's nearly 5 figures by the time you package in health insurance and all the other stuff every month. And so Patreon, because we're in an economic crisis and people are feeling uncertain about their futures, some people are reducing their support, which is understandable, and we love that they've been able to support us thus far. But at the same point, we have 150,000 subscribers and only 1,300 are supporting us on Patreon. So those 2 numbers don't add up. So if more people gave a smaller amount every month, we'd be doing a lot better. Like if everybody watching this stream who wasn't already a Patreon supporter donated just $5 a month or $1 a month, we would actually be able to do a whole lot more. And I wouldn't be spending so much of my time coming up with new ways of doing stuff. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why the consultancy exists. We want to try and expand our offerings so that we're not relying just on Patreon, so that we're not relying just on YouTube. Does this mean we're going to make fewer videos? No. Our goal is to bring Kate Walton Elliott on full time and to make the consultancy her kind of baby. I will be heavily involved with it because I own the company, but that we are bringing that in. I think everyone can afford it. Can afford what? The $1 a month? I know not everybody can afford $1 a month, and I'm not saying that everybody who is watching should be able to afford it. But if they are able to afford it, this is not about people. This is not about me shaming people. It's supporting. Content can't be free. In an ideal world, it would be, and we believe that content should be freely available, and that's why we make our content free at the point of delivery. We want to move over to PeerTube, which again, free at the point of delivery. But we also have to monetize it somehow. This doesn't just happen. You can't just make videos on mobile phones. You can't. If everybody who supported, if everybody supported the channel from $1 a month, that's $12 a year. I guarantee you that is less than most people spend on a cable or a subscription to Hulu or whatever. And I understand that not everybody can afford it. That's not what I'm saying here. And I know you came back with every channel wants you to pay. Again, we are content creators. That is our job. We cannot live off nothing. And it's really depressing when people say things like you've just said. I understand. In an ideal world, I would love nothing more to live in the Star Trek universe where we don't rely on money anymore. But at the end of the day, the videos that we make, where we have multiple cameras and we're cutting between different cameras, we have 4 of these. These little audio recorders we use, they're over $200 each. The editing machines we use, we're going to have to buy some new computers next year because this computer, the one I'm talking to you on now, it's an iMac Pro. It's coming up for 6 years old and it started to misbehave. When I render videos, it's crashing. We've tried reinstalling the software. It's still doing it. We've tried reinstalling the That was not intentional. I I do apologize for that. That was not intentional. as I was saying, this computer is not working properly anymore, and, Michael's computer behind me is a consumer grade machine that is so slow that it takes a lot of his time to edit video that it shouldn't. So we're gonna have to replace this machine and this machine behind me, um, next year, and that's gonna cost money, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, you'll have to decide what you want from this channel moving forwards. Whether you want us to continue to produce high quality content with a staff, and I think we can all agree that since Michael joined the team, the video content has improved in terms of its videography and its coloring and its just its general quality. Um, or whether you want this to be just a thing that I do at the weekends in my spare time when I don't know what I would do for a job, probably work in a coffee shop. Um, that is effectively the end of the day. That is why we are making the decisions we are making. We have to make today a decision that is smart for the team and trying to keep everybody um we have to keep everybody happy and we have to keep uh income coming in, and that's why we're switching to the consultancy. So I know that there are other groups that do this, but we are now offering it too. It doesn't mean that we're gonna stop making videos. It doesn't mean that we're gonna stop doing these things. And when we ask, "Hey, maybe you could donate $1 a month to help us out," we're not demanding it. We're not saying, "You have to." We will continue to make the content free. But at the end of the day, if you're someone who goes, "Well, I don't wanna pay for your content," you need to ask yourself, um, how you would feel if you were making content at the level that we are making it. How would you do it without spending any money? Yes, Carl. That is why we are making our content available. That's why we have Patreon. That's why we are using YouTube, where we do have some ad revenue coming in. And it's why we've started the consultancy service. We cannot rely on just one income. Um, and again, I didn't want this content to go to this point. Sorry, I didn't want this live stream to go to this point. Um, PeerTube will be no revenue. There will be no revenue on PeerTube. So for us to transition to PeerTube, we need more Patreon supporters. And this feels like I'm saying the same thing and going around in circles. Also, thanks to those of you who did up your Patreon support. I do appreciate it. PeerTube isn't monetized, so YouTube should still be better. This is the problem, though. YouTube is penalizing content creators who only excuse me. YouTube is penalizing content creators who only make one type of content, who don't make the shorts. They only want shorts because they want to compete with Instagram. So that is where we are at. Anyway, Ghost has he wants to go out and he's feeling very naughty. So I'm going to bid you all a wonderful rest of the Thanksgiving weekend. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being wonderfully supportive and for keeping Transport Evolved on and running. And without you guys, we really wouldn't be able to do that. Anyway, thank you very much. Do check out our buying guide. There is a review coming for the BMW iX. It's dropping tonight if you are a Patreon supporter, and it's coming tomorrow for those of you who are not. Thank you very much. Keep evolving.